Over to you, Joe Lottie. I'm sure you may have heard the story of the man behind this phrase countless times. Joachim Awule Lartey gained popularity in the 1960s when he joined the sports department of Ghana Broadcasting Corporation (GBC) from the talks and features department to relieve a colleague who was due for leave. He joined the head of department, Festus Adai, to give commentaries, and that is where the phrase "over to you, Joe Lottie" was birthed. He has shared the story of his journalism career over and over again. But several years before he joined the journalism fraternity, Joe Lartey served on the British Navy during the Second World War, and on this edition of the Untold, he shares his experience on board warships and life after the war with us.
At the age of 16, I was attending Accra Academy, but I left the school and joined the Navy. I traveled to Takoradi. There was a naval base there, and I went and joined with other young boys from Gambia, Nigeria, all the 4 British West African countries. From Takoradi, we were taken to Freetown. Freetown had a very big naval base, and it had a training institution called King Tom. King Tom, that's the name. King Tom Barracks. That's where we had our training. I was recruited into the supply division. The supply division in the Navy is a division that takes care of supplies, food, clothing, drinks, and so on. I joined that department. So we were trained for 6 months in the ways of a Navy, how to swim, what to do when there's trouble on ship, all that. Then after your training, we had a bigger barracks at a place called Kisi, Royal Naval Barracks Kisi. Big place, like the university, like Legon, very big, with lights and all the things that you can think of. Swimming pools. I was drafted there. And then from time to time, we use the word draft. You'll be drafted to serve on a ship. Not a merchant ship, it's a warship. We served on warships. That place, the Kisi Barracks, we had a cinema hall, everything that you can think of. And sometimes you'll be attending a cinema show. Then they will give out an announcement. And when the announcement comes, you hear your name, immediately you fall out. You go and get your kit bag, and then you report to, we had a place called regulating office. You report to the regulating office, and they will process all your things. You go for medical checkup and so on. And then you go to sea. Sometimes you'll be at sea for 3 months. And what we were doing at sea, we were escorting merchant ships. That ships that were carrying goods from place to place. The enemy ships were trying to torpedo those ships. So we have to give them cover. We give the merchant ships cover. We form a V, and the merchant ships will be in the middle, and we will be on the sides. And on the warships, we keep watch. You have your bases in the ship where you are posted, and you'll be using your binoculars to watch the sea. If you see anything that is strange, you report. Very interesting and very dangerous.
Young Joe Lartey almost lost his life when the warship which they were operating on in 1945 was torpedoed by enemies. He says out of 120 men on board His Majesty's ship Kilkenzie, 59 lost their lives.
around 1945, 46, just about that time, we were at sea off Liberia. It was in the night. I was in the bathroom, taking my bath. Then suddenly I noticed that the bathroom was tilted. The buckets and things were falling, not knowing that the ship had been torpedoed. And they were, on board a warship, when there's trouble, action against you, they give orders. You have to run, and everybody, you have a place where you have a lifeboat. A lifeboat. The lifeboat is for your safety. Before you drop into the sea, you lower the lifeboat, and then you all go into it, and then you start rowing to be on the sea because your ship is gone. It was terrible, terrible. I haven't seen a thing like that before. And it was dark, very, very dark. And when a ship is torpedoed and it begins to sink, the danger is the sinking ship pulls the water around it. So those of you who have gone into the lifeboats, if you don't row properly to get away, it will suck you into the ship will sink with you, will go with you. It was terrible. People were struggling. Each lifeboat had a number of men it could take. But in the confusion, some people were going into the boats, some were overloaded, and they were running the risk of sinking. It was. I remember this clearly, that somebody was trying to get onto our boat. We were loaded, and this guy was holding the side of the boat and was trying to get on board. I remember there was a South African white man, South African rating. Those of us on board ship, they call you a rating, just like you call a soldier. They call us a rating. This guy took an axe and hacked the hands of the man who was trying to get in. And you could see the blood in the night. The guy fell into the sea, was taken away, just to save those of us who were on the boat. You see, the survival of the fittest. That's the meaning of that idiom. Survival of it. When you are in trouble at sea, the strong man is the person who will live. The rest, you will die. So I went through that experience. We were picked up 4 days later by a coastal plane. They were using planes to patrol the seas during the war, in case a ship had lost its all sorts of problems. We were picked and taken to Dakar, the head office of the headquarters of Senegal. Went to Dakar, and we were given medical treatment, food, attention. When you've been at sea for 4 days, you have not eaten anything, you've not taken any water. We were not given water or food immediately. They had to treat us very gently. They will put a piece of cotton wool into water, and then they will let it drop into your mouth. Because if they give you water to drink, you'll choke and die. Because you haven't taken any water for 4 days. In some cases, more days, and so on. So we went through all that. After about 3 weeks, we were flown back to our base in Freetown, Kessie Barracks.
After the war ended in September 1945, Joe Lartey, then a young adult, returned home to parents who long thought he had been killed in action. Having lost his only brother at age 9, Joe Lartey received all the love and attention from his parents and lacked nothing material. So he had no reason to run away from home to join the Navy.
The people are rejoicing.
He, however, says he loved the sea and wanted to experience life in the Navy, hence his decision.
I came back home after demobilization, and the meeting that I had with my dad, the first day we met, the old man looked haggard. He was a civil servant. He looked very haggard. He was worried. I mean, can you imagine? Look, I have a child, a son, who does commentary with the GBC. Anytime he left Accra to travel to, say, Kumasi or Sekendi or any part of the country for commentary, I was never at ease with myself until he returned. So you can imagine the feeling of my parents when the son they had all their heart in, was serving on warships during war. Wasn't easy. And I think I owe my dad in particular, I owe him an apology for leaving home and joining the Navy the way I did it. So I came home, and my first meeting with my dad was interesting. The old man saw me. I was in my Naval tropical white uniform with my cap, well built, looking good, you know. The old man, he couldn't believe that he was seeing a human being. Maybe he thought I was a ghost. But when I spoke, he came forward and hugged me. And he made a statement. I've never forgotten it. He said, and I quote, "I did not know that the Navy could make men out of boys." Unquote. I did not know that the Navy could make men out of boys. It was a very touching statement. And then we sat down and I told him stories, as many stories as I could, my experiences and so on. And then I got into civil streets. We call it civil streets, that is civilian life.
Joe Lartey was part of the war veterans who marched the castle on 28 February 1948.
The war had ended, soldiers had also returned from the battlefields, and they all needed to work. So there was agitation for work. The government of the day, the Gold Coast government of the day, had difficulty placing all these people. And so we decided to stage a march to the castle. We held a rally at the Palladium, Western Accra. And it was attended, that rally was attended by the Big Six. Kwame Nkrumah was there, Aaron Pa Willie was there, Koforiata, Nana's father was also there, Obechebi Lamte, Akwaji, they were all there, 6. They attended. And apparently there was some relationship between our leaders, the ex-servicemen's leaders, and the politicians. So we went on the march. And just as we were getting to the Osu crossroads, we were asked to stop. We did it. And then there was a shooting. And 3 of our men were killed. That, alongside that march, that event, the march to the castle, there had been a boycott of European goods. Because of the war, prices of goods were very high. And when the war ended, still the prices were high. Since, factories had not started producing goods. So things were very difficult. And an Osu Alata chief, Kobna Boni, decided to stage to organize a boycott of European goods. The boycott was quite successful, but the day it was lifted, that boycott was lifted, was the same day that we marched to the castle. So the two events coincided. And when the shooting took place at the crossroads, and all the ex-servicemen, we ran back into the town. Looting of European goods started. It was fearful. Goods were looted. Some people were killed. They were shooting here and there. UTC, the old UTC, was set on fire. I mean, there was complete breakdown of law and order in Ghana. So they brought troops from Nigeria, and those troops who were brought here couldn't speak English. They were raw, and they couldn't take anything apart from the orders from their people. That was a very terrible time in Ghana, especially in Accra.
Joe Lartey took advantage of the various schemes put in place by the government of the day to resettle ex-servicemen and train to become a teacher, a profession he says he practiced until a few months ago. After teaching in different schools around the country for some years, his journey with GBC began.